Hello and welcome to part one of our riding portion today. There's going to be two videos. We're going to start by talking about equitation and independent seat and how you can practice that at home or wherever you are abiding right now. And then we're going to have a second video where we're going to learn how to do walk-halt transitions. So stay tuned for both of those. But we're going to start with equitation. So equitation is a big fancy word, but it's basically the way that you sit on your horse. So we're looking at certain lines when you sit on a horse that demonstrate balance for you. So good posture is going to be involved in this, but the way that you sit on a horse is going to impact your communication skills with your horse. So Mr. Dreamer here is listening to everything that Megan is doing while she is on his back. Literally everything. The way that her foot is in the stirrup, the angle of the stirrup, her calf, her knee, her thigh, both of her seat bones, her core, her posture, her shoulders, everything is communicating something to the horse. So we practice making sure we have alignment so that those muscles build up to the point where it becomes natural to communicate with our horse. Now, there's going to be nuances the more that you ride. We learn different ways to communicate, better ways to communicate, and ultimately we want to get to more quiet ways of communicating. So we want to learn how to go from I have to use my whole entire body to get my horse to do one thing to I can just use my ring finger to get my horse to do that one thing, or I can just use my head and the posture of my neck to get my horse to do one thing. So the main two lines that we're going to be looking at is the one going head, shoulder, hip, heel. So there's one that's up and down. Hoping I'm lining up with the camera a little bit here. But we're looking for this postural alignment. So the head, shoulder, and hip is going to be upper body alignment. We're looking that you're not leaning forward, telling your horse to speed up. We're looking that you're not slouching and losing all of that alignment, because as soon as you slouch, your core is no longer engaged, and should your horse decide to bolt, they get spooked, they decide that they're done with you riding, not that any of our horses would do that, but if they decided that they were done and you're slouching, you're disengaged, you're going on the ground. So good upper body alignment is very important, but we also want this leg to be back. So I'm going to ask Megan to demonstrate improper leg when we tell students to put their heels down. So heels down, heel is lower than toe. We're going to go into this in a little more detail on how you can practice this at home. But heels down, we see people stick their foot out in front of them. So when your foot's all the way out here, and in the next video we're going to talk about walking and halting, you're not going to have any communication with your horse to walk on through your leg. So I don't know if our video lady can come and see the giant gap that we have here, but there is no contact between Megan's leg and Dreamer's barrel behind the girth. Now, if she were to squeeze, let's say that her leg does come in, she's hitting fabric. She's not touching the horse, or she's hitting the shoulder. When we ask our horse to walk forward, we want to be on the barrel. So part of the reason we want that leg back is for those communication skills that we talked about. So I'm going to have Megan put her leg back in the proper position. When her foot's here, her heel is still down. So her toe is still above her heel for safety. Now we have safety stirrups, but should a rider fall off, we want the foot to come out of the stirrup. And any time that we're getting our weight off of the horse, we want to make sure that we're not pitching forward. So we're going to talk about that a little more as well. But where the foot is does matter. Now the other line that we look at in equitation is elbow to wrist to the horse's bit. This piece of metal is the bit, in case we do not know that, but I think we all know what the elbow and the wrist are. So we're looking for a straight line through the rein, that's this piece of leather right here, down to the horse's bit. So if Megan loosened up her reins a whole bunch and the reins started to smile at me, she's not going to have good communication with the horse. And if she has to stop, she's going to end up having to pull her hands crazy up high. That's way more work than we want to do when we're riding. We want to have clear communication, and we want to use our energy and our muscles effectively. So that line is going to matter as well when we start to talk more about walk halts in the next video, and then in upcoming videos when we start to learn steering, that's also going to matter. So thank you to Megan and Dreamer. We're going to come over here now. We're rotating around because we want you all to be able to practice this equitation off a horse. So we learn how to ride without a horse. We talked about the movement of the seat, which is going to be the most important factor when it comes into you getting that muscle definition building up at home, balance, core work, alignment for an independent seat when we can say, what are my shoulders doing, my hands doing, my feet doing. One of the challenges, though, without being able to be on a horse is you don't have the use of stirrups to put your feet in to practice heels down. So this is going to be an exercise, well, a couple exercises that you can practice at home in order to build up these muscles that we're talking about in good form and equitation. So we're going to start with one exercise using stairs. So if you have stairs, preferably start with one that has a railing. It's better to have that safety there than to start without it and need to adapt. So with the stairs, what I want you to do is you're going to put the ball of your feet on the edge of the stairs. So you have your toe, right behind the toes is the ball, then you have the bridge of your foot and your heel. So the ball of your foot is going to go on the stairs. You're going to have your feet hip width apart, just like when we were riding on the ball or the chair last week in our video. When you have your feet in the proper position, I want you to stretch out your heel all the way down to the ground. So this is why we have the railing. We want to make sure that we're not leaning backwards as we do this. But in this position, what we want to be able to do is drop our knees as well. We never want to have locked knees, all right? When we're doing any kind of movement, we need to have the ability to absorb shock in our joints. So this activity is going to allow the calf to stretch out, and it's going to help you practice putting your weight in your heels. So there's a gap between my toe. I'm not bracing with my toes. I'm not trying to be a bird holding on to a branch. I'm letting my toes come up and my weight in my heels. Now another option, if you don't have a convenient set of stairs nearby, is to use a wall. So we're going to come over here. This is going to be my wall. This is going to be called, we're going to call it a reverse wall sit. So normally, if you're doing a wall sit, you're coming this way against the wall. But what we want to do to practice heels down and stretching out our calf so that we have good equitation and good communication with our horse is doing that in reverse. So start pretty close to the wall. This is going to be, this is phase one. This is the beginner stage. So you're going to be in phase one. Your shoulders are staying upright. Your core is engaged, and you're going to bring your knees against the wall. Now, if you do this and you have to lean forward, your weight is in your toes. Okay? So you're naturally going to get feedback from gravity. So we're bringing our knees to the wall, and we're staying upright. Fall forward, get a little bit closer, and try it again. Now, what's considered phase two, phase three is getting further away from the wall. So however far away you can get from the wall is going to tell you how much stability you have in your calf. So that's when we're coming all the way down. And see, for me, this is too far. My heel's coming up, and I can't hit the wall. So that would be too hard for me. My calves are too tight, which is not surprising. I want to get to the point where my heels can stay on the ground. I can stay upright, but my toe is as far away from the wall as I can physically handle. So that's option number 2 to stretch out your calves. But we're going to do a little bit of, our last thing for this video is going to be a little bit of strength in the rest of our body to balance this, because our horse is moving. So we're going to return to the stairs, and this is your final challenge. With the stairs, again, with the railing, please, what we're going to do, you're going to get you're going to get the ball of your foot on the edge of the stair. And what I want us to do is we're going to practice 2-point. So 2-point is also known as jumping position. It's when we get our weight off of the horse's back into the balls of our feet, and we counterbalance our hips and our shoulders. So in 2-point, I'm sending my hips back. Now every time I do that, you're going to see my shoulders drop forward. okay? I'm trying to do this and keep my knees apart as well. I'm not bringing them in as I sit back. I'm keeping my knees over my toes in a squat coming down. The challenge is going to be, can you do it without holding on to the railing, okay? So even if that's just a little like, okay, there, I did it, that counts. But we want to keep that space, the toes up, and we're bringing the hips back and letting the shoulders fall on their own. So let's try doing 10 of those, and then I want you to repeat those exercises after the video ends before we do our walk, halt video, sorry. So we're gonna do 10, ready? We're gonna come back in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. Now, if you're feeling any pain in your knees or your hips, make the movement smaller. This can also count as 2 points, okay? We can have very small little movements. We don't want to ever push ourselves into a zone of pain. I'm sure we've heard that before, but I'm going to repeat it anyway because I care about safety. So if you need to keep it smaller, but I want you to try those 3 exercises again before you start the next video.